My kids are fighting over my will, and I'm not even dead yet, screaming at each other over who gets the house while I sat in the next room, overhearing every word through a cracked door, my coffee growing cold in my hands. At 64, I'd spent 40 years raising them, cooking their meals, patching their jeans, cheering their dreams, only to catch them plotting my legacy like vultures 2 weeks after I'd casually mentioned updating my estate plan. They didn't even pause, just hissed accusations of greed, leaving me stunned, clutching a mug, betrayed by the family I'd built from scratch. It's a biting January morning in 1984, the air sharp with the sting of frost and the faint whiff of burnt toast, and I'm 24, standing in a drafty kitchen in our starter home, a sagging ranch house with a leaky roof that dripped into a bucket by the stove, a furnace that groaned louder than it heated, its walls papered with faded daisies peeling at the edges, stirring a pot of oatmeal as my firstborn, Jenny, bangs a wooden spoon on her high chair, her chubby cheeks smeared with breakfast, her hazel eyes, Pete's eyes, sparkling with mischief as she giggles at the clatter. Pete and I had married at 20, high school sweethearts swept up in a haze of young love and reckless hope. Him a factory worker with a quick laugh and hands rough from steel. Me a cashier at the local Kroger, ringing up canned goods and counting pennies in a booth that smelled of stale cigarettes and despair. Dreaming of a life bigger than the $12,000 ranch we'd scraped to buy, with a loan we could barely pay. Mike came in 87, born during a snowstorm that blanketed the town in white, his cries echoing through the house as I rocked him by a space heater. Then Carrie in 90, 3 kids by 27, a whirlwind of chaos, diapers, and tender moments that stitched us tight. Pete died in 94, a car wreck on icy roads, his pickup skidding into a ditch, gone at 30, leaving me a widow with a note from the bank and a half-empty dresser, Jenny clinging to my leg, Mike sobbing in his bunk, Carrie asleep in her crib, my world shrinking to a rental we fled to when the ranch went to foreclosure, its walls so thin I could hear the neighbor's TV through the plaster. I fought for them with every ounce of me, worked double shifts at the store, my apron sagging with nickels and dimes, my sneakers squeaking on linoleum as I dodged cranky shoppers and balanced trays of change, my hands trembling as I counted tips under the counter for milk, bread, a coat for winter. Nights, I'd sew their clothes from thrift store finds, Jenny's patched dresses, Mike's denim jackets, Carrie's little vests, my fingers pricked raw by a hand-me-down singer humming under a flickering bulb, their snores a soundtrack to my exhaustion, my eyes burning but fixed on their faces, those tiny grins, my fuel through sleepless dark. We survived on casseroles stretched with extra rice, hand-me-downs from church bins, a TV with rabbit ears flickering cartoons through static. But I made it theirs, baked their birthday cakes from scratch. Chocolate for Jenny with thick fudge, vanilla for Mike with sprinkles, lemon for Carrie with a zing she'd squeal over. Push them on a rusty swing at the park till my arms ached, my laugh mingling with theirs as they soared, cheered till my throat cracked at their little league games and school plays. Jenny's home runs, Mike's quiet catches, Carrie's wild dance moves lighting up my days like fireworks in a storm. By 99, I'd clawed my way up, years of night classes for a nursing aid cert, textbooks propped on a wobbly card table, coffee cold by 2 a.m. as I studied between their spelling lists, saving every dime, every overtime check, every tax refund to buy us a brick house, its scratched hardwood floors and chipped front porch a badge of my grit, a home I painted blue inside to match their boundless dreams. They were my core. Jenny's fierce will that could argue the sun down, Mike's quiet strength that held steady, Carrie's wild heart that danced free, and I thought that love was a bedrock, forged strong from 40 years of just us against the grind, a bond I'd poured my soul into, my chest swelling with every mom. They shouted as they raced through my door, my life a tapestry woven with their threads. They grew up strong, too strong, maybe, their roots stretching beyond my reach. Jenny turned into a lawyer, tall, sharp-tongued, her hazel eyes cutting through a courtroom, moving out at 23 to a sleek apartment downtown with law books and a view she'd earned. Mike bloomed into a carpenter, broad-shouldered, steady-handed, his brown hair flecked with sawdust, settling at 22 into a condo near his workshop, his tools clanking in the quiet. Carrie became a stylist, petite, with a dreamer's grin and a laugh that rang like bells, leaving at 21 for a loft above her salon, her scissors snipping through the air. I stood in my brick house, waving as they drove off. Jenny in her polished sedan, Mike in his pickup, Carrie on her scooter, proud but hollow, the silence creeping in without their chaos, their sneakers no longer thudding on my stairs, their radios no longer blaring through the walls. I'd visit, arms full of Tupperware, pot roast steaming, cookies still warm, watching them build their lives, my heart aching with every mile they stretched from me, my blue walls echoing with the ghosts of their laughter. Grandkids came, Jenny's Ava in 12, a spitfire with her mom's eyes, born during a summer rain. Mike's twins, Luke and Leah, in 14, 2 bundles of energy with his quiet grin, filling my Sundays with cookie dough smeared on my counters, crayons scattering across my rug, their giggles a balm on the quiet that had settled like dust in my home. I'd host dinners, pot roast steaming, their favorite, the kitchen thick with gravy, and the clink of forks. Tom, Jenny's husband, joking over his plate. Mike carving the meat with a steady hand. The kids tumbling over my faded shag rug like puppies, their sticky hands tugging my sleeves as I poured milk into mismatched cups. We weren't flush. My nursing aide job at the hospital stretched thin as a worn thread, my pension looming but lean. But we were family, tied tight by sticky hugs, bedtime stories I'd read till my voice rasped, and a love I'd poured 40 years into, or so I believed, my chest swelling with every Grammy. They squealed as they ran to me, their little arms wrapping around my legs, my brick house alive again with their light, my heart full with the promise of a legacy I thought they'd cherish, not carve. The first ripple of discord slipped in 2 years ago, soft as a breeze on a still autumn day, so faint I barely noticed till it grew teeth. It was late October, leaves piling in my yard like a carpet of amber and rust, when Jenny started probing, subtle at first, her lawyer's mind working behind her casual tone. "Mom, what's your plan? House, savings, you know, the future?" She'd ask over coffee at my table, her hazel eyes flicking to mine, her voice light but edged with something I couldn't place. "Still kicking, Jen. No rush." I'd laugh, stirring my tea, the spoon clinking against my chipped mug, the one Ava painted with wobbly stars, trying to brush it off, but Mike chimed in, quiet, his voice low as he leaned on the counter. "Just curious, Mom. Fair split, right? 3 ways?" Carrie shrugged from the couch. "Whatever, Mom. You decide." But her fingers twisted her necklace, her eyes darting between them, a flicker of tension I didn't catch then. I smiled, uneasy, saying, "Plenty of time, kids. Don't bury me yet. And changed the subject to Ava's school play, their laughter filling the room again. But the prickle stayed, a splinter under my skin. A month later, Pat, my neighbor with a gossip's ear, whispered over the fence as I raked. Heard Mike at the hardware store, asking about property values, your place. Odd, huh? My stomach flipped. Odd, but I shook it off. Baking cookies. Oatmeal raisin, their childhood love, to smooth the unease, telling myself, 40 years, they wouldn't. You don't suspect greed over a question, not after raising them alone, not after pouring your life into their roots. So I trusted. I waited. I let it simmer. The doubt a whisper I ignored. Last spring, the tension sharpened, raw and cold as a blade slicing through the warmth I'd built. It was April, rain tapping my roof like a restless drum, the lilacs blooming purple outside my kitchen window, when I mentioned updating my will. Casual over Sunday pot roast, the table crowded with their plates, the gravy still steaming. Getting older, kids. Might tweak the estate plan. See a lawyer next week, I said, sipping my tea, my voice light, expecting nods or shrugs. Maybe a good idea, Mom. Their faces tightened. Jenny's fork paused midair, her eyes narrowing like she was prepping a cross-examination. Mike's jaw clenched, his knuckles whitening around his knife. Carrie's laugh faltered, her fork scraping her plate too loud in the sudden hush. Tweak what exactly? Jenny pressed, her tone sharp, cutting through the clink of dishes like a gavel. Just details, house, savings, make sure it's clear, I said, stirring my tea, the spoons clatter a nervous beat, my smile fading as their stares bore in. Clear how? Mike asked, low, his voice steady but heavy, his carpenter's hands still on the table. Fair's fair, right? Carrie chimed, too bright, her fingers twisting her napkin into knots. Silence stretched, thick, uneasy. Then chatter shifted, their voices overlapping with forced laughs. Questions about the twins' soccer. But the air had changed, a storm brewing behind their smiles. A week later, Pat cornered me at the mailbox, her voice low. Heard Jenny at the diner with Tom, talking inheritance, how she deserves the house. Mike's been asking too, property stuff. Watch out, Diane. My gut twisted. Deserves? Watch out? The lilac's scent souring in my nose as I pictured my brick house, its blue walls, their childhood etched in every scratch. Now a prize they were sizing up, my heart pounding with a dread I couldn't name. 40 years teetering on their whispers. My trust fraying like a worn rope I'd clung to too long. The real blow landed 2 weeks ago. A crisp September night that still haunts me like a scar I can't heal. I was in my kitchen, TV humming Jeopardy! In the corner, Alex Trebek's voice a dull comfort against the quiet, stirring a pot of tea, the kettle's whistle fading as I poured it into my mug, the steam curling up like ghosts of their laughter. When voices rose from the living room, sharp and jagged through the cracked door I'd left ajar. Jenny, hissing, her lawyer's venom spitting fire. I get the house. I helped most. Law school wasn't cheap. Mom paid my loans. I earned it. Mike, low, firm, his voice a steady growl. Bullshit! I fixed it. Roof to basement. My sweat's in every board. It's mine! Carrie, shrill, her tone piercing like a siren. You're both greedy as hell. I need it. Salon's tanking. Mom'd want me set. My mug froze in my hands, coffee growing cold, my heart pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird, as their shouts clashed. My brick house a trophy, my savings a pie to slice, my will a battlefield they'd stormed while I sat alive, breathing, listening through the door, a ghost in my own home. Jenny snapped. You've got your shop, Mike. Carrie's just whining. I've got Ava to raise. Mike fired back. Ava's spoiled. Twins need space. This place is ours. Carrie wailed. You're stealing it. I'm drowning. You don't care. My knees buckled. 40 years flashing. Jenny's first steps. Mike's scraped knees. Carrie's glitter-strewn crafts. My casseroles. My cheers. My love, now carved up like a carcass. Their accusations a chorus of greed I couldn't unhear. My hands trembling as the mug slipped. Coffee splashing my slippers, soaking the rug. My voice silent. My presence erased. Betrayed by the kids I'd raised from scratch. Their shouts a knife twisting deeper with every word. My legacy a war they'd waged while I still drew breath. The days after were a slow, suffocating bleed, a fog I couldn't claw through. They didn't know I'd heard, left that night with stiff hugs. See ya, Mom. Their voices hollow, their eyes dodging mine as they piled into their cars, taillights fading down my street. I waited, numb, replaying it, hoping for a call. Sorry, Mom, we got heated. But my phone stayed silent. My texts. Dinner Sunday? Unanswered, their silence a wall I couldn't breach. Pat whispered updates over the fence, her ear to the ground. Jenny's bragging. House is mine when she's gone. Mike's measuring. Needs work, but it's ours. Carrie's whining. They're screwing me. My pot roast sat uneaten, my cookies unmade, my blue walls closing in. 40 years of cooking their meals, patching their jeans, loving them through every stumble. Now a prize fight I'd stumbled into, alive but buried. My will a script they'd written without me, their greed a betrayal I couldn't shake. My heart bruised by the family I'd built, now tearing it down brick by brick. Then came the twist that flipped the script, bright and fierce as a sunrise after a storm. A week later, Pat called at dawn, voice hushed, urgent over the line like she'd struck oil. Diane, just checked with my bank pal. Your trust, $200,000 from Pete's life insurance, set up in '95 after he died, your name only, locked tight, plus your house, $400,000 market value, yours alone, deed clean as a whistle. They don't know, think it's all joint, been plotting like it's theirs already. I laughed, wild, ragged, a sound that bounced off my blue walls, rattling the teapot on my stove, the cold coffee still staining the rug by the door. You're sure? I pressed, gripping the phone till my knuckles ached, my pulse racing like it hadn't in decades. Dead sure, Pat said, a grin creeping into her voice. You're set. They're blind, squabbling over crumbs while you hold the loaf. I hung up, fire surging through me like a wildfire. They diced me up, fought over my bones while I breathed. But I held a power they couldn't touch, a fortune they didn't know I owned. I called my lawyer that morning, voice steady as steel, though my hands shook with the weight of it. They want my will? Fine. I'm rewriting it all, and they're not getting a damn thing till I say so. I hired Ellen, top estate shark in town, a widow like me who lived for justice, her office a war room of files and fight, the air thick with coffee and determination. She dug in like a bloodhound, and the dirt spilled out in a flood. Jenny's law school loans, $50,000 I'd paid, my savings drained for her degree. Mike's workshop tools, $10,000 in gifts I'd bought, my overtime checks cashed for his saws. Carrie's salon startup, $20,000 I'd lent, my nest egg chipped for her chairs. All my sacrifices, now they're ammunition in a war over more. Ellen traced it further. Texts between them, hacked legally. Jenny to Mike. I've earned it. You're just labor. Mike to Carrie. She's dreaming. House is mine. Carrie to both. You're thieves. I'm broke. Mom'd pick me. Ellen locked my trust. $200,000, untouchable. Filed my brick house as sole property. $400,000 market value. My name in bold. Redrafted my will. Bulk to charities. Cancer research for Pete. Kids' homes for my heart. Grandkids' trusts for Ava, Luke, Leah. Scraps for them if anything's left. A legacy they couldn't claw. They didn't see it coming. Thought they'd carved me up with their shouts. Thought they'd silenced me with their greed. Their fight, a victory I'd never challenge. Jenny called 2 days later, furious over the line, her voice a storm breaking. Mom, what the hell? Why change the will? You can't do this. I stepped onto my porch, lilacs fading in the dusk, the air cool against my skin, cool as ice despite the tremble in my hands, gripping the railing as the wind rustled my hair, my blue house glowing behind me. My $400,000, Jenny. House and trust, all mine, not yours to fight over. Fight over nothing now. Hope it's worth it, 'cause that's all you're getting while I'm here. She sputtered, voice cracking, her lawyer's polish peeling away. You're insane, Mom. Mike's pissed. Carrie's crying. We need that. You needed me, I shot back, low and lethal, my eyes fixed on the horizon beyond the porch I'd swept for them. Where's Ava? Luke? Leah? Where's the mom you buried alive? Silence. Then a click, her breath gone, the line dead, her bravado folding like a house of cards. Mike tried next, gruff. Mom, fix this. We're family. Carrie followed, pleading, Mom, don't. I'm sorry. I hung up. First time ever. Their voices bouncing off me. Ellen's words in my ear. They're broke, Diane. You're free. Word spread through town like wildfire. Pat whispering at the grocery, neighbors at the diner. They fought over her will. She's alive. Trust flipped it. Ellen's evidence hit their inboxes. Trust docs, house deed, new will. Jenny reeling, Mike raging as his workshop faltered, Carrie sobbing as her salon sank. Their greed, a boomerang they couldn't dodge. I didn't call. Couldn't, my heart too bruised. But I sold the brick house through Ellen, cashed out $400,000. Bought a condo by the sea in Florida, its white walls a fresh start. The waves rush, drowning out their shouts, echoing in my mind. Took myself to Spain with the trust. Tapas warm in my hands, the Alhambra glowing gold, healing in every bite, every step along cobblestone paths. They're out there, Jenny, Mike, Carrie, maybe raging, maybe broke, maybe staring at empty hands as their legacy slips away. Their kids asking, Where's Grammy? With no answer. It hurt. 40 years don't fade without a fight. Jenny's first words. Mike's shy hugs. Carrie's glitter crafts still vivid in my dreams. That blue house a ghost I can't shake. But I wasn't their prize. Wasn't the loot they'd carved while I breathed. I was Diane, 64 and fierce, sipping sangria by the Mediterranean, starting over with a heart too scarred to break again, but too strong to bow. They thought they'd claim me, fight over my bones while I lived, but I claimed myself. Louder, bolder, undeniable. My love a force they couldn't steal. My life a victory they couldn't touch. So here I am, months later, watching the sea from my condo, wondering what's next. They're out there, Jenny, Mike, Carrie, maybe scheming, maybe silent. I'm strong, but scarred. Some nights I wonder, did I save my peace or lose them? Could they call, begging forgiveness? And if they did, would I answer? Or let it ring? I don't know yet, and maybe that's okay. What do you think? Should a woman like me ever soften? Or is this where I stand tall? No regrets? Tell me your take.